All right, everybody, welcome back to Ether Bandit's Garage. I know it's been a while, but today I wanted to give an update on this old 1954 Ford F100. The 4L60 swap is taking a little bit more time than expected, just with catching up on adapting the throttle position sensor to work with the throttle pedal and still be able to have a throttle cable. That soaked up a lot of time. It was very difficult. I ended up getting a throttle bracket from AutoZone and then grinding the bracket that came with the TPS, and then using the throttle bracket that's supposed to mount over here on this little extension for the kickdown bracket to space this out enough so that way it didn't interfere with the TPS any. But we got that figured out, and it works good. I'm pretty happy with that. And then the next issue that we had to deal with was the transmission oil cooler, which it said it'll void your warranty if you don't use if you use the one in the radiator, so whatever. So I ended up actually mounting this one so it's between the condenser and the radiator, which you can see these two this bolt and that bolt, and then there's like some Scotch locks up there, or whatever you call those. And I still have yet to put hose clamps on these. I know this is AN line, and those are hose barbs in this oil cooler. But I called Gearstar, and they said a lot of people do it, and they have great luck with it. So I'm taking their word for it. It's a very snug fit. We're gonna see how all that works out. And I did end up getting the shifter connected to everything, and I have it shifting good. I had a kind of a heck of a time getting the dipstick tube to be mounted, and I'm really not happy where it's at because it's almost touching the valve cover right there. But I think we're just going to be happy with this because of how much I fought it. And I guess whenever I rolled the truck from that corner to here, I had the drive shaft in. And so for some reason, whenever I pulled the dipstick tube out, a bunch of oil dumped out, which is looking better. It's getting cleaned up. And I don't remember if I showed y'all or not. Oh yeah, but I drilled, this is the bulkhead connector for the transmission. This is for the throttle position sensor. I don't remember if I showed y'all or not, but I have the TCM mounted. Pretty much all I like with the transmission is putting some hose clamps on those oil cooler lines and hooking up these, which is just power, ground, input, output, all that good stuff. And I'll show y'all what I did underneath the truck to get the transmission hung, because I've been fighting with that. I haven't had a lot of spare time lately to work on stuff I actually wanted to work on, but we're making the best of it. Alright, so as you can tell, I do have the transmission in. I have pretty much everything hooked up. Things that I did to get the transmission to sit like it is, because this is a 54, the brake booster is underneath the cab, which I don't really like, but it's nice because it's hidden. And I wrapped this in heat wrap to help protect this cable and just keep the oil from boiling. This transmission cross member used to be identical, but because of that brake booster, I ended up modifying this and flipping this piece over and straightening it right here. And then I even beefed that up just to make sure it wouldn't bend or nothing. But we have the speed sensor in. Because this truck has had several iterations in its lifetime, there were a couple different holes drilled, and I ended up welding all these up. But I had to drill, with going from a Turbo 350 to a 4L60E, it makes it 2.5 inches longer. So I was able to use this hole, but I had to drill this hole. And so I welded those up, and I had to weld up one over here too, but I ground it flat. And you might can tell I actually did that to this side too, which this side is a whole different ball game just because of that brake booster. I had to space that down. We did have to get the drive shaft shortened. I had to get it shortened 1.5 inches because the engine was moved forward 1 inch, and this is 2.5 inches longer. We got that shortened, and new U-joints put in by Brazos Valley Driveline and Brian. And Gearstar did actually end up sending us new hardware to bolt the transmission to the engine, which I was very impressed with. And it's made it, everything with that's been very good. I mean, I'm pretty much done down here. I do, oh, yeah, I do need to find I forgot my pocket knife in the frame rail, but you don't need to worry about that. And drive shaft is in. Everything's bolted down and tight. I do need to tighten the transmission cooler lines. And then we are ready to put this thing on the ground and see what it's gonna do once we get everything all nice and wired up. But I'm sorry, this is probably gonna be a little bit shorter of a video. I really didn't get to work too much on it this weekend, but I will say that I've spent primarily my time underneath it. And then I had a lot of issues with this, fitting this throttle, this TPS sensor. Because like I would get something to work and then there'd be something else that wouldn't work. Like I got the bracket to slide into the other bracket, which is honestly similar to this one, which your throttle cable mounts here and then this slides in. I'm like, oh, that'll work. I slid it in there. And the bracket for the TPS only went to about right here. So I drilled a new hole for that. And whenever I did, the pigtail, which as you can see is plugged in, interfered with these bolts. So I took that off and I had to, it's now pretty much a locking one where you have to take the sensor off to get to that pigtail loose. And so then I was trying to make it work by putting the throttle cable here, but it was still in the way. It was just a whole deal. I got it figured out now. I probably fought with that for an hour or two. And it's been just trying to get one thing done at a time. We're pretty much done, except for the oil cooler. And these 3 little wires, which is 12-volt switch to tack input. Those are like mode switches or something, but we don't need those. Speedo output, ground. Yeah, we really don't need the mode LED or whatever, or mode switch. I mean, basically, this truck is going to be driven around town every now and then, very gently, never gonna really be beat on. Like they're gonna appreciate it for just it's something old that works. Drive it around, take it to some car shows. That's what I went to Lone Star Roundup this weekend, and I was kind of wishing I could have brought this thing, because I honestly met my aunt, the owner of this thing, down there. And I was hoping to bring this down there and surprise her, but this was the main hiccup for me right here. This whole throttle position sensor, it took me a long time to get it to that point. But we got all that sorted out. I might change a diff oil in it before I set it down. Probably not. I mean, this truck is not going to have many miles put on it at all. But honestly, though, it might. I mean, we've done everything to get it as comfortable to ride in as possible. Power steering, tilt column, automatic, air conditioning. I I'd really like some ideas on where we could put a radio, because I can't cut a hole in there because of all the air conditioning. It was mounted underneath the seat before, and I think that's kind of where it's going to have to go, unless I built a little box for it to be right here. But other than that, this truck's really coming together. It's pretty nice. But I still need to do a couple things, like secure the fan wiring, shorten the sensor for the fan wire, just little stuff. But once we get that rest of the stuff sorted out, I'll show y'all how we have to. That trans controller uses an app on your iPhone. It's gonna be interesting. So alrighty, y'all don't have too much fun. We'll catch y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Catch y'all next time.